Hey, remember me? It's a Mr. Internet, the guy always in your YouTube recommendations every day. Well, today's no different. I went on to Reddit so that you don't have to. Now let's read. But Christmas is about family. I really enjoyed these stories and thought it's about time I share a story about my mom. She's a special one. When I was in high school, my parents got a divorce, and my mom has never stopped being bitter about it. She throws tantrum and tries to pull power moves to get more time or attention from her kids whenever possible. Since I live abroad, she kicks this behavior into overdrive when I come back to visit. This particular year, my grandmother on my father's side had passed away, and not long before that, his second wife had died. Needless to say, my dad had a rough couple of years and really wanted me home for Christmas. I didn't have funds to buy a ticket, so he bought me one. He even paid extra to get me a more comfortable seat on the exit rows on a direct flight, so I could get there quickly and in comfort. He was putting me up at his place for the entire visit and feeding me all the food I could eat. Never once asked for a cent. The one thing he wanted was my company at the holidays, and how could I say no to my recently widowed father? It was lovely to spend time with him, meet the new lady in his life, and eat everything I can't get here. Of course, I can't go home and not tell my mom I'm coming, or visit her. First thing she does is start telling me how I'll be spending Christmas Eve and Christmas Day with her and my brother. I told her that's unreasonable since my dad paid for me to be home to spend time with him, and she can have one day but not both. Not that money is the most important thing ever, but Dad put so much into bringing me there, and deserves the greatest benefit, as opposed to the whiny, selfish brat I have for a mother. She started whining and laying on the guilt trip. But you're staying with your dad. He gets to see you every day. It's not fair. I'm only asking for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Christmas is about family. Yeah, Mom, Christmas is about family, which is why I want to see my dad, his brothers, and my cousins. We were planning sort of a belated memorial dinner for my grandma since most of us would be able to be together. Mom starts threatening to just show up at my uncle's house to crash the dinner since we're still married in the eyes of God. I'm still part of this family. Thankfully, Dad's side of the family was prepared for her drama and had prepared for us to meet on Boxing Day. But I still want to spend the 24th or 25th with my dad, so Mom brings in her trump card. I already told your grandparents we're coming to visit. Great. She always uses her parents, who I adore, as a way to get what she wants. They're only available for a visit on Christmas Day. They're elderly, they don't do anything but read books and nap, but it's not worth it to argue. I talked to my dad, he's super understanding. He was married to her for nearly 20 years, he knows how she is. And I'm off to my mom's house for Christmas Eve. My brother and I are chilling out, cracking jokes, and reminiscing about dumb kid stuff. Mom is insisting we have to eat the stuff she likes, drink what she wants, and watch all the Christmas movies she wants to watch. When I get a text from my best friend of 15 plus years. His mother, who had been battling cancer for years, had just passed on. I'm in shock. I tell my mom I need to go to his house right away since he's home alone and he just lost his mother to cancer. My mom says, "But it's Christmas Eve, you can't go." I say, "His mother just died. He's alone. I'm going there to make sure he's okay." She says, "No, you can't go. Christmas is about family." I say, "His family's dead and he's alone and I'm going to his house now." So Mom, actually shocked, is snapping back at her. "Okay, fine, go tell him I'm sorry about his mom, but you have to be home by 10, it's Christmas." It's 9 p.m. and I'm done with her crap. I'm just going to his house and I'll come home when I decide to. Do you really think an hour is enough time when his mother just died? She says, "Okay, go, but be home by 11. Christmas is about family." By this time, my friend had arrived. He drove over to pick me up since I can't drive, and I just walked out without a word. I came home sometime later than Mom's curfew and somehow survived the rest of the holiday. Mom never apologized or saw the error of her ways. Thankfully, my friend was okay, with time, and while I'm super sad his mom died, I'm glad I was there when it happened. And yes, my mom did whine a bunch about me spending time to go to the funeral instead of spending time with her. Remember, Christmas is about family, just not the dead or grieving ones. I mean, if you just keep saying it over and over again, it'll probably become true eventually. I mean, to be honest, I like Christmas. You know, it's a fun holiday. I like to go and spend time with my family, but over time, I've kind of realized that it's not the biggest deal if you, for whatever reason, can't see your family on Christmas Day. Because, I mean, there's nothing particularly special about, December 25th that makes it any more valuable to spend time with your family than any other time. I get that some people are so busy with work or school that they only have a very short window of time they can spend with their family, but if you're someone that already sees your family all the time, it's just alright, well maybe we won't see each other Christmas, but maybe the day after Christmas. I just don't get what the big deal is about the day of the 25th. Next up we have, I put a fake note on a Corvette's windshield that read, "Sorry I hit your car, you probably won't even notice the damage," because it was taking up 4 spots. So I was trying to find a parking spot at my university. The lot was notoriously crowded, but my campus didn't have a whole lot of options. While searching, I saw a Corvette taking up 4 prime spots near the front of the lot. After about 10 minutes of waiting and looking for a spot, one opened up towards the back of the lot. Furious at the nerve of the driver being so inconsiderate, I wrote a note saying, "Sorry I hit your car, you probably won't even notice the damage," and left it on their windshield. When I got out of class and was heading back to my car, I saw a very stereotypical college-aged Corvette owner frantically searching their vehicle, while yelling into their phone. I don't know who they were talking to, but I feel bad for them having to deal with this person. Man, that's actually a pretty clever little, sort of prank, revenge kind of thing you can do to somebody. It's pretty great when you actually get to see their reaction too. Guest threatens to sue over service dog, then post review proving we followed the law. So I've seen plenty of ridiculous threats of lawsuits over the years, but this is probably the first time the guest has been kind enough to leave a public review, stating point by point that we were in the right. I'm assuming most of you know the rules about service dogs, but here's a brief summary for anyone who isn't familiar with them. Service dogs are allowed in hotels under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Emotional support animals are not. There is no required paperwork, no official registry, or anything like that. We were allowed to ask 2 questions. Is the animal trained to provide a service? And what service is it trained to provide? As far as the guest's responsibilities, the dog must remain under their control at all times. Therefore, a dog left in the room alone while the guest leaves the hotel is not considered a service dog, and we are allowed to refuse service. Anyway, here's the paraphrased review. My wife and I travel with her emotional support dog all the time, and until now I've never had any issues. At check-in, the woman at the desk asked if he was trained to provide a service, and when I tried to show her a certificate, she wouldn't look at it and just asked the same question again. I said no, and she asked if I was sure until I said yes. She then asked what it was trained to do. When I told her it was none of her business, she started throwing acronyms at me, trying to tell me some city ordinance or something said she could. She finally checked me in, but as if it wasn't bad enough, when we tried to go out to eat a few hours later, she ran out after us and told me we weren't allowed to leave our dog unattended in the room. Obviously we couldn't bring our dog into a bar, and the girl refused to call her manager, so my wife was forced to stay at the hotel. While I was out talking to the police officer, who told me the hotel was wrong, and that there is not a city ordinance banning service dogs, and that it is illegal to do so. When I got back, the woman still refused to listen to me. This hotel needs to train their employees. I expect more from this brand. I will be in contact with my lawyer, and I am expecting compensation. Ah, so you're saying the hotel didn't want to be your dog watching service? Man, that is just so terrible. We should call the police. Oh, you already did? Oh, well, good. We'll get this taken care of. I'm not your Uber driver, lady. So I was living in a university area, and parking was really hard to find. I found a great spot out front and had to run back up to my apartment and grab something and got back down to my car. I was sitting in my car getting my phone ready with the music before I left. While doing that, my 2 back doors opened up and 2 kids climb in. They don't speak great English and are trying to tell me where to go. I turned around and told them that I'm not an Uber driver. So they sat in the back of my car on their phones trying to figure out what was going on with their Uber. I had to scream, "Get out of my car!" This is not the place to figure out your Uber app, but the look on their faces when everything clicked, that they were lounging in the back of a stranger's car and were getting yelled at, was priceless. Man, I've heard a lot of stories of stuff like this happening. You know, believe it or not, I have never taken an Uber or a Lyft anywhere. I've never really needed to, but at the same time, the whole process has always just made me feel a little uncomfortable, I guess. Now we have Gilderoy Lockhart. So my husband said I should post this here. I've kept it secret for over a decade, and he felt it might do me good to air my past a bit after watching r/ on YouTube. Puh, r/. So here it goes. In my early 20s, I met a guy, let's call him Gilderoy, through online dating that I had previously known in high school. He was kinda cute, appeared to be a sweet and kind romantic, and took me to a nice restaurant. After a couple dates, we started getting serious, and that's when the 6 months of relationship hell began. Gilderoy was a narcissistic a-hole, and I was sadly too blind and desperate to see it. From the start, he was a compulsive liar, lying about everything under the sun and claiming accomplishments that weren't his own. Over 6 months, he would constantly accuse me of cheating with platonic friends, even though I wasn't. I was a tomboy. He also wouldn't allow me to be friends with any of my guy friends, pushed me away from my friends and family by constantly manipulating everything they said to make me not trust them, and demanding complete obedience from me even if I didn't want to comply. This led to Gilderoy making me buy him everything from groceries and cigarettes to CDs and over-the-counter meds for him to get high off of, racking up a $4,000 bill on my credit card, as well as driving him anywhere he needed to go. He didn't have a car, including to court dates, drug deals, being picked up from jail, and once to a psychological evaluation. He was diagnosed with a paranoid personality disorder, but refused to take meds or seek treatment. Because he thought I was constantly cheating on him, he also convinced me that the only way to win back his trust was to allow him to access my phone history and texts, my email accounts, and all social media accounts so he could always keep tabs on my honesty, though he still constantly accused me of lying. Our love life was far worse. I made him use condoms, but one time he slipped it off and finished inside me. I was paranoid of STDs and was freaking out, but he convinced me that he was clean and everything was fine, and told me I should just stop being crazy and paranoid. The next time we went to do it, I asked him to use a condom, but he said he didn't need to because we didn't last time. I told him it would still make me feel comfortable, to which he beat me while saying it would be pointless since he came in me before, and proceeded to have his way with me. From then on, he would demand unprotected sex even if I wasn't comfortable with it, and would even let his roommates watch when I didn't want them to. I even found him in his roommate's bed with his roommate one morning when I came by to take him to a court date, and the door was open. It all ended after 6 months when I started to stand up for myself and demand some equality. I confronted Gilderoy one night and told him that if he could have access to my social media, emails, and text messages, I should be allowed access to his. He thought about it for a while and slowly agreed, telling me he would give me the passwords in the morning. 3 days later, he finally gave me the passwords, and I looked through his emails, most of which had months of emails deleted, but I did find some emails proving he was cheating on me with several different women within the first couple of months of our relationship. He couldn't remember when we started dating. And one of the women had even vandalized my car. I used this as grounds to end our relationship permanently and hightailed it out of there. The aftermath didn't get better. I found out about another woman that he was cheating on me with at the time of my breakup, who was a decade older than him with children. Let's call her Regina. I took the time to write her a warning email and listed signs and red flags to look out for, to which she blew me off just saying that they were deeply in love, he would never do that, and that I was just jealous. I also found out that he had an STI, and after talking to his friends, I found out that he knew about it 3 years prior to me and never got treatment for it. I got tested and took the antibiotic till I was clean. And now for the revenge. Around a week or so after the breakup, Gilderoy started bragging on Facebook that he had accepted a job offer that paid him in the nicer part of 5 digits, especially for someone in their early 20s. I remembered I still had his login info to his email, so I logged into his email from a random computer and simply wrote his new boss an email explaining he respectively found a better position elsewhere, and that he would have to decline the position. His new boss replied, giving thanks for the notice, and I promptly deleted the emails. Gilderoy showed up for work on his first day to being told he was replaced. After that, he proceeded to try and embezzle several thousands of dollars out of my parents through the threats of lawsuits, to which he failed because I was over 18 at the time, and not the legal responsibility of my parents. Plus, their lawyers found his long list of criminal history that would cause any judge to throw out his case. Since then, Gilderoy has stalked me for over a decade. He will occasionally try to get in touch through texts, emails, or phone calls. Once he emailed a couple of days after I got married to tell me that he got married to Regina that day. Oddly enough, Regina had gotten in touch with me after Gilderoy sent the email to ask more about the signs I had warned her about, because she found out Gilderoy was doing drugs around her kids and was beating her too. I told her to take an STD test and leave him. I also found out that while he dated a friend of mine in high school, he tried to choke her to death after she got him cheating, and she savagely bit a hole out of his arm till he let go. The last time I saw him, I ran into him the week before my dog died of cancer. The encounter freaked me out so bad due to the distraught emotional state I was already in, so I confided in my friends about it. Some of them did digging. He is currently miserable living with his grandmother. His wife divorced him. He has no job. He has no car. He has no friends that trust him. He's pretty much alone. Well, that was a fun story, but I think you could take it a little bit further. You should just start harassing him and just sending him threatening emails, stuff like that. Just try to make his life as bad as possible. You know, for most of my life, I've come up with all of these ways that I could make somebody's life miserable if they really deserved it. But I've never really had anybody that was that scummy that I would need to do anything to them. So, if anyone really wants to get revenge on somebody, needs some ideas, maybe just hit me up. I might be able to help you out. But yeah, I just don't really have any enemies, unfortunately. Alright, well let's finish this off with a question, which is, what's the most money you've been scammed out of? A local mechanic convinced me to take my car to his shop to have him do a brake line for $200. I was going to do it myself. I was just being lazy because it was middle of winter. I took it to his place and he would not give me my car back unless I paid him a little over $1,000, because he said that it took him 10 hours to bleed the brakes. The best part was I was being super considerate. I let him know to do the other customer cars first because it was just a second vehicle of mine. So he wound up having a little over a week, broke my hood latch, and also I saw him drive it to the grocery store and the parts store a couple of times. Yeah, cars are probably one of the biggest things people get scammed on. But as far as local mechanics go, I have a mechanic down the street from me. He's actually the one place that I feel like I'm not getting scammed when I take my car somewhere. I take it to a dealership and they're just like, oh yeah, you got about $1,000 worth of stuff that needs taken care of. And then I take that exact list and I show it to my local guy, and he's literally just looking at this list laughing at how much they're charging for this crap. Like one time I actually pulled up to my local guy, and my car like had the check engine light blinking. The whole car was just like violently shaking, and I was just like, oh, this is gonna be expensive. I dropped it off, came back later, it's like, yeah, we fixed it. It'll only cost you about $200. I'm like, oh, sweet. I got a total of $1K for Christmas from my aunts and uncles. Parents told me that they were just gonna hold it for me. That was 2 years ago, and turns out they had already spent it on a brand new TV. Wow, sounds like you have some pretty cool aunts and uncles, but maybe just go take the TV for yourself, or hide the remote. When I was a little kid, an older guy in my school asked for a $5 fee to enter his secret club. Wow, a secret club with the older guys? I saved about a week of snacks money and gave him. There was no club. I had no snacks that week. Man, $5 for a little kid though, like, adjusted for like age inflation, that's like $500 in adult money. Greatest scams in my life. My parents borrowed my life savings of about 100K of our currency, which is about 1800 USD. And when I asked for it, they did not say this, but heavily imply this. I raised you, and if we can count all the money I spent on your food, clothes, and education, you would owe me money. Yeah, this like sort of reverse inheritance thing is something I've thought about. It's like, man, your parents pay for a lot of stuff as you're growing up. Like, don't you think you should owe them? And the answer is no, because you're going to be spending the same amount on your kids, and their parents spent that money on them, so technically the money should just keep going up the chain, and the reverse inheritance would just go to your great-great-grandparents, who are dead anyway, so, I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. $10K to relatives who wanted to start a business. Spent it like water. Bought themselves every expensive crap they want, and a second-hand motorcycle. In my country, $10,000 is about $550K of our country's money in conversion. They refused to pay me back, and even told me that it was payment for helping raising me. Yeah, no. I lawyered up and had them pay me at least the amount owed, plus lawyer costs. Am I the a-hole when they had to liquidate their business and sell their house to pay me back? My other relatives certainly think so. Yeah, man, what's your problem? They were just embezzling all your money, like, why you gotta go be a jerk about it? $60K, for-profit scam college. Hey, aren't most colleges scams? I mean, nowadays they certainly look that way. But I would say probably the biggest scam I ever got into was when I was about 19 or 20 years old. I was just like ready to buy a car. And you know, I was looking all over. I was like, all right, I need something for like, you know, maybe $1,500. And then I finally found this piece of junk, but it was like $2,000. And I was like, well, it's the kind of car I wanted. So I went all out and I got the loan for it, which was probably at like 18%. And so I'm driving the car, I get like 2 flat tires within the first month or two. And then the whole thing basically died like 4 months later, and I basically had to sell it back to the dealership and barely got enough money back to cover the rest of my loan while losing all of my money in the process too. So I mean, in the end I was left with no debt, no money, and no car. But overall it was a really bad experience. Not to mention the whole insurance was ripping me off too. They were charging me like $150 a month. And when I went to cancel the insurance, do you know what they said? They were like, would you still like to keep your plan? Even though you don't have any car, you could still keep your plan in case you get another car soon. And we'll only charge you $80 a month to insure nothing. I'm just like, is this the adult world? This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And so then I just didn't have a car for a few years until I got my current one. Anyways, I guess that does it for this video. I feel like I've been in kind of an odd mood. I've been watching too much Asmongold. I guess I've just been in like the, I just don't have any craps to give kind of mood lately. So, hopefully you enjoy it anyway. But, yeah, thanks for watching.